Welcome to episode 72 of the Game Theory Podcast. This is the portion where we're going to talk about news and reviews. There's some pretty good news items here, so you probably want to stick around. Yeah, it's a pretty fun, funny week. But yeah, first of all, how was your week, David? You've been running like a machine.
I have my running machine. We had 2 random days of springtime, so I took advantage, put on my old trusty Zombies Run app, and started fleeing from zombies across my neighborhood.
Oh, how was that?
It's fun. I rescued a child from zombies, so I feel pretty good about that.
That's fun.
But then you had to listen to her crying in your ear the rest of the mission. That was not as ideal.
That was a bad design decision. I don't think I would have done that.
Is there an option to leave the child behind so that the zombies all converge on the crying and I get away?
Yeah. Okay, I saved him. Now, can I put him on a random roof? That's what I'd like to do. That's fun. I went on a date with my wife and we ran too. Yesterday, we ran a 10K and then we turned around and ran a 5K just for funsies, I guess. But yeah, it's. Hold on, I'm gonna put some headphones in because it sounds like there's some noise issues. One sec.
That sweet, sweet sound quality.
There we go. We're
come
good.
to expect from us.
Yeah, just nothing but the best. We have the highest production values.
Yes, it's true. Everything on one take. Go.
Yes. Yeah, it was a pretty good week overall.
So we clocked in ahead of schedule on our monthly goal for running as a team.
Yes. Yeah. We. I think. Would you put in 80 something?
Yeah, 81 something. I think.
For the month. Yeah. But yeah, so that was good, and I was able to run stuff too because I didn't have some horrible sickness. I feel fine now, so.
Oh, good.
Good times.
Did they ever figure out what was wrong with you?
Not necessarily. Like we're going to do more tests at the VA, but other than that, I don't know. Because the VA, man, oh, dude, because it's there's a lot of interns at the VA, right? Like that's a place where you can go kind of do a residency as a medical, professional. Well, so obviously they want to do all the procedures every time. Like one time they gave me a colonoscopy and I can't even remember why. And they were just like yeah, you need one of those, and I was like, I don't think so. But you don't have a choice with the VA. You have to do it because like if you don't, they'll fuck with you. Like I got in trouble for not going to one in November. They're like, can you come in and we're just gonna make sure you're not killing people, a mental health thing. And I was like, yeah, I'm not. Don't worry about it. Like I'm literally I'm in a psychology program. I'll be fine. And they sent me like a horrible letter after that, and they're like, you're going to lose all your VA benefits if you don't come in. And I was like, oh, Jesus, okay, fine, I'll come in. Settle down. But
sounds fun.
Yeah, and every time you go in there once a year, they draw all the blood. Like they just for days, they just stick a needle in by someone who's learning most of the time. So there's very rarely like middle people. There's like a bunch of young interns following around these really super old doctors that are like working on their second or third retirement. And so they'll walk in and they're like, all right, you're gonna want to put something up his butt, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I, and they're usually like young, attractive females, and I'm like,
yeah, why is it always like the young, pretty nurses do the colonoscopies? Like I'll go into the hospital 20 times, not see a single attractive person. Colonoscopy? Oh, hello, person who is a model and also a nursing student, I guess. Here, I'll pull down my pants so you can shove that up my butt. Why not? Let's make this as humiliating as possible.
Oh man, I looked it up because I was like, why the fuck would they give me a colonoscopy? Because I had stomach problems when I was coming back. Just like I felt like sick, and more often than normal. And so we were trying to figure out what was going on, and they were like, okay, well, here's your regimen. They just basically just send you a piece of paper and say, show up here, and you don't even know what it is. But this one came and it said, don't eat the day before and all this shit I had to do, and I was like, what? So I looked it up, and dude, there's no reason they should have been doing that. Like, you don't need those until you're like 40 something, or what? Maybe it's like 50 or 60, and then I guess it's real easy to catch bowel cancer or some shit, but it was dumb. There was no reason to do that. But anyway, whatever. That was fun.
Good time.
Anyway, yeah. So why do we have the most awkward intro? Like one time I was like, I think I got MRSA.
I know, it's all about like you punching a bunny to death or getting ass raped by a colonoscopy. Like,
yeah,
there's just no filter.
It's a whole thing.
That's why we make 2 separate episodes so people can skip this if they want.
Exactly. Yeah, because this is where I'm going to self-disclose. I don't know. There's like a weird thing because it's just me and you, and we're talking to each other, and then I'm like, oh wait, there's like thousands of people listening. Maybe I shouldn't be talking about getting butt raped. Maybe. Also, hey, UFC for any UFC fans. Do you watch? You don't watch UFC, Dave. You don't give a shit about UFC, do you?
I love fight sports ball.
Oh, fight sports ball. They do that hard.
Super Fight Sunday.
Super Fight Sunday. Yeah, Super Bowl Sunday is today, and I don't give a shit. I don't even know who's in it. I think Seahawks.
Patriots and Seahawks.
Oh, okay. Anyway,
Something
but
about
for sports
Deflate
fans,
Falls.
Deflategate. Yeah, did you see that Bill Nye Science Guy thing on that?
No. I hope he made a passion plea to stop putting gate on the end of every single controversy that happens.
I wish they would. Oh my gosh, it's so ridiculous.
Like, yeah, a half deflated ball is the same as the event that took down a president. I mean, they're both pretty important things.
And gate wasn't added on because it had to do with water. Like, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah. Oh, Nixon was poisoning the local water holes, and they took him down. It was Watergate.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there, but anyway, yeah, UFC. It was a lot of fun. They used psychology as a weapon. They talked about it, just like our last episode. About this guy kept trash talking the main guy to make him, so he would aggress on him because he's a counterpuncher. And the whole time I was like, man, those guys must have been listening to our podcast. That's what must have happened.
They're not the only ones.
Yeah, yeah, we got a little feedback based on our episode as well.
Yeah, we have a few major news sites jack our episode idea for this week.
Yep. But anyway, I guess we can move on to recent news if you want.
Sure.
All right, this is the recent news section. We're going to be talking about some things in the news. First of all, a game that I'm looking forward to, Witcher 3. That's going to be cool. It's did that already come out?
I don't know. I haven't been following it.
I haven't. There's been like a bunch of. I guess I've just totally missed it. Sometimes I miss the release dates on things. Like one time not Game of Thrones. I think it was Walking Dead. An episode came out, and it was like 3 weeks later when I was like, oh, I guess that came out. So I'm gonna play it. But I normally like to play them like on the day they come out. But yeah, this one I don't know. I don't know if it came out or not, but I'm looking forward to it. It should be a really fun game. But one of the things that I heard about it is that it's got an insane mode. Have you heard about this?
No.
Okay. So there's an insane mode where whenever you've heard of like normal and hardcore modes, right? Usually.
Yes.
Yeah, like in Diablo is one example where when you die, that's it. You're dead. Your character's dead. You got to start over. Insane mode is like that, except you're like, how could that happen? Because you can save. Well, when you die, it wipes all your saves from your game.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's crazy. What a dick move. Why don't you just allow saves or do auto saves?
Nope. Don't give them the illusion of safety and then wipe them out.
Yeah, it's gonna be difficult with a game where the combat system is like, it's hard. It's a hard combat system. So.
Yeah, that's a generous way of describing it.
Yeah, it's a little. I don't know. A lot of people like it, but I think it's clunky and weird.
I would have described it as a not fun combat system.
Yeah, I literally put it on like super easy just so I can
not worry about it. That's what I did on Dragon Age Origins after a while. I was like, I don't care about this combat system. I'm kind of over Baldur's Gate turn-based group strategy RPGs, so let's put it on easy mode and experience the story.
Yeah. Yeah, so insane mode. I'm not going to be doing that. I already don't have enough time to play all the games, and I cannot imagine having to start over. If I died on the end boss, I would punch a baby.
Oh, no, I experienced a little bit about that. I'll talk about during the gaming experiences, but I was playing an old GameCube game, and the save points were few and far between. Remember back when you couldn't save just whenever you wanted?
Yeah.
Oh, so frustrating.
Yes, I remember. But anyway, so what have you found in the news? What stood out to you?
So remember the other night, like Monday night, we were all chatting on Facebook after a Heroes of the Storm game, and then Facebook stopped working?
Yes.
Yeah, and at first I thought, oh, my internet went down, but everything else was working but Facebook. And Facebook doesn't go down very often, so I was like, this is a rare event. Facebook actually went down. And so I just went to bed. But apparently some people lost their shit over it. CBS San Francisco reported that 5 separate people called 911 in when when
What did they
Facebook
report?
went down. So here's what they would hear when they got that. Our lines are dedicated to handle life and death calls, and even though Facebook is important to a lot of people, it's not a matter of life and death when it stops working.
You don't need a public service announcer for that. Everyone knows. You should know what 911's for.
Apparently, when they were informed that, one caller even called back to tell me I was being rude because I told her it wasn't a life-threatening emergency. So
Wow.
yeah, five people called in 911 because Facebook went down.
What is?
That's the world we live in now.
So that's a thing.
That's not even the first time it happened. When the PSN network went down, and some kids called 911.
What the hell? What do they think 911's for? Like, if you're like, oh man, I forgot to order bread today.
They know
At the
superficially it's
store.
for emergencies, and the definition of emergency is rather vague for some people.
Apparently. Apparently. Well, that's pretty hilarious. Um, yeah, on my side of things, there was I try to keep my thumb on the pulse of like, video game research because it's kind of my thing. And there one came out from Catalonia. Do you know where that is?
Yes.
Bad at geography, so I know nothing. But yeah, they had this like a big study done, large sample size where they got a chance to kind of do a big survey thing. So it's cross-sectional research, but they found that some pretty, I think, surprising results compared to what I've read in the literature, or not I've read all of it. So in the literature currently, but they found that a bunch of bad, like a linear behavior or correlation between like basically a bunch of bad shit and time spent playing video games, mobile games, and internet use, as well as decreased parental control over what they consume. And it felt a little sloppy to me. I don't know. They did a poor job reporting their statistics. Actually, they didn't report any of their statistics, how they analyzed it, but they reported the outcomes. And so I'm not really sure what they made of. Like, for example, it said like here it says, so when people consume these things, these devices or these things, video games is mixed in with like mobile games and internet use.
Mm.
But it says they found that school failure was their big outcome variable, the thing they were kind of trying to measure. And when they looked at that and looked at all the measurements, the other measurements, and then tried to see if it would predict, they found that school failure raised by 20% if you did that 2 to 3 hours per day, and 29% if they used the computer more than 3 hours a day. School failure, right? And
I'm not
they also
sure
had
why that's surprising.
well, I mean, that's not really in our literature in psychology. So that's, we find that like you can play it up to, what was it, 20 hours a week, if I remember right, and with no deleterious effects. Yeah, and in fact,
I'm
even
assuming this is just like their sample size were like University of Barcelona students.
in this one,
Yeah.
this was secondary schools. They didn't report ages, which I think is unfortunate. But I don't know what secondary schools means.
Oh, it's
Was
high
it-
schools.
Oh, it's a high school. Okay, high school age kids.
Yeah, yeah,
but
I can see that. Like, first of all, kids go home. They get home at like 4. They've got probably 4 or 5 hours before they have to go to sleep. They've got to eat. They got chores. They got homework. You spend like 3 hours a day out of that 4 or 5 hours on Candy Crush or whatever. It's going to have a harmful effect on your grades.
Yeah, I guess so. And that's another thing they didn't talk about is I'd want to know, like, you'd want to look at your data and make sure that like they don't. Okay, so that that you're not averaging in like big weekend chunks, right? Because that could skew your data like crazy.
Yeah.
And I think I imagined it like an average of 2 to 3 hours per day, and I was like, well, if they're kind of, I remember being a teenager on a weekend, I was bored as shit, a lot of the times.
Yeah.
So if I had the internet back then, I would have been all over it. So, I mean, I guess I could skew it if you're there for like, if you played on the internet for like 8 hours, which is not unheard of for a teenager.
Mhm.
That could skew it a bit, but anyway, yeah, that's a good point. But
Yeah, I'd like to see how their methodology on that, because to me, all I'm hearing is if you spend all your free time playing video games, then you won't get your homework done, which is one of those no-brainer assertions.
yeah, that's true. Although Yeah, like we found that, like I said, 20 hours apparently a week playing video games is there are no deleterious effects as long as you're also doing the other activities. So, like good nutrition, as long as you're getting your exercise, and as long as you're stimulating your brain with other things as well, that was just fine. In fact, it was good for you. So,
Yeah. It really depends on what we're looking at here. Like when I don't even know when Spanish students get out of school, but if they're like French students, they don't go home till like 5 or 6.
okay.
And I know the homework load, the average homework load where I teach is like 2 hours a night for a high school kid. Like they're pretty busy, but with extracurriculars and homework. So like I need to see more data because like I said, I'm not familiar with how Catalonia does their education.
Yeah, I'd want to like look in and answer a lot of these questions because that happens a lot. Like when we do research, this just happened whenever I was analyzing some data a few weeks ago. I looked at them and you see these weird things and you're like, what? So you really dig in and try to like figure out what's going on. So I'd love to be able to do that because I would not have predicted this much, like a 29% increase. And even then, like they kind of, you can't lump all those things into one. I would want to know, like, okay, is it the video games? Is it the mobile use, mobile games? Or is it the internet use that's killing people, And there's no reason why they couldn't, because they ask these questionnaires in a way that you could easily kind of sift all through that data and figure that out. But they had this included 5,538 secondary school students, so it's pretty large sample size.
Like you could almost just like why limit it to internet and games? Why not just say if you spend 3 hours or more on recreation a day, then you have this much chance of failing out of school? I think you get similar results. Like if they were like, if you spend 3 hours or more running from the bulls, like it's gonna take away from your school time.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was interesting that school failure actually increased by 17% for 1 to 2 hours of use as well. But there was a funny effect where it had kind of an inverse relationship because the study showed these numbers 17, 20 for 1 to 2, 2 to 3, and more than 3. Okay, so you get 17, 20%, 29%. But guess how much it is if you don't use the computer at all?
0%.
27%. It's actually higher than all the conditions other than more than 3 hours a day.
Yeah, and then what goes into that? Like, if you're not using the computer at all, does that mean you don't have access to the computer? Because that would make it so you don't have, like, that is going to hurt you for school because so much of research is done online now.
Yeah, it's shoddy reporting, or even worse, I'd hate to think of this, but it could be shoddier, like, analysis, or just shoddy methodology. They should have like passed this by and been like, what should we be controlling for? But that's kind of Ferguson and my critique in the literature is we don't control for third variables enough. We look at a linear relationship, and I don't know if you guys should check this out for anyone in the that's listening right now. Spurious Correlations. There's a website called Spurious Correlations, and you can go there and it talks about things that are are correlated, but they're not causal, and they're highly correlated. Like movies coming out by Nicolas Cage and strangulations by bed sheets, I believe, is one of them. Another one is like decreased use of margarine and divorce rates are correlated, and not in the way that you'd think is like, oh, well, maybe you eat more fatty foods, and divorce goes up because maybe there's you don't like what you see kind of thing, you get tired of each other. No, it's inverse. So just weird things like that. Yeah, so that's like this. I mean, okay, maybe they're correlated, but why? Who cares? Like amount of, how would I put this? Mother dissatisfaction and and the amount of time you spend playing sports is related. It maybe, if that was correlated, but why? Oh, because the kid does a lot of laundry, he gets two pairs of clothes dirty in one day, and the mom has to do laundry throughout the week as well as on the weekend, so she has less time for herself, she gets resentful, that kind of thing. Like, yeah, but why? Correlations mean very little without an explanation or an inference of cause. So, anyway, these things are correlated, apparently, in their subset of people. That's what they found, but it doesn't match our much better research in America, unless something weird's going on over there. I don't know. But I thought I'd bring it up. Let the listeners decide what they thought about that. Yeah, near and dear to my heart. So exciting stuff.
And again, if we did that same study where I worked and we ruled out weekends, which I don't know if they did, we'd probably see similar things. There's just not enough time in the day for these kids to play 3 hours of games and get all their homework and studying done.
Right. Rather than just thinking like, oh, well, video games are bad for you.
Yeah, it's to me even if that study is like bears out, all it's saying is like if you have too much recreational time and you're not doing your homework, then you will do more poorly in school.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. I
was like, yep, that's true, and that holds true for every other hobby in the world.
Yeah, and your a priori assumptions of theory, like your theory of what's going on, can really fuck up your methodology and hence your results, and just cause a self-confirming bias if you don't check yourself before you wreck yourself. No, check with critics, people who like me, like let me look over your methodology, and if I agree to it before you run your study, I'm like, okay, that should be fine. And if we see bad effects, then there are bad effects. Yeah, well, that's how science works. That in the journals, this shouldn't be so quickly consumed. It's just we're fighting. We're fighting for better methodology in this area of research.
No bueno, Catalonia. No bueno.
Yeah. So anyway, that's exciting. Do you have anything else in the news?
Yeah, good news from Nintendo. They just released their numbers, and they are still operating at a profit, which is nice. They've always been kind of on the ropes with the Wii U and the Wii and just getting mangled in the console wars. But what's saving them is the 3DS. They've just passed their 50 million units sold milestone.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah, to put that in perspective, they've sold 9.2 million Wii U's and over 50 million 3DSs. So basically for every 12 3DSs that are sold, somebody buys a PlayStation Vita. So it's kind of keeping them in the black.
Wow, well that's good. Good for them. They deserve good things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting. Did you hear about the Pirate Bay? It's been down forever. This torrenting site.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't advocate.
Out of it.
The only things I advocate torrenting is when people are stupid. Okay, so one example is I actually torrent UFC fights because I'm a bad person. No, because we were actually on our run and I was talking about this with Amy. It's bad marketing. So there's two ways in marketing to kind of like, and we have some marketing people who listen. So correct me if I'm wrong, but in my 2 years of studying marketing, it was there's a few different ways you can maximize variables, but there's two variables that a lot of people look at. One is profit margin, so like how much are you making above what it costs you,
right.
Maximizing that. And then there's another market where it's like maximize overall costs or overall take in. And I kind of feel like the second one's the better one because like how much does your company make in general? So if I can sell a ton of low profit margin items, right, then I'm gonna make more than if I maximize profit margin to the point where I'm only selling to like 5% of people, which is things like Lexus or not Lexus, but yeah, I guess Lexus maybe.
Right. It's why McDonald's sells like drinks for $3 and then outperforms your Five Guys burgers and fries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They maximize profits on drinks and fries, and then they don't have to sell like the premium burgers.
Yeah, whoever's getting dividends from McDonald's is making a lot more than whoever's getting dividends from like I don't know, Aston Martin, who makes cars. Probably. I'm imagining. They're probably or multi-billionaires, and then the Aston Martin's probably making like maybe he's like a late millionaire or mid-millionaire or something. But anyway, the point is so when people do dumb shit like that, like UFCs are priced and fights are priced for $50 right now. If you watch it online, $75 sometimes for pay-per-view other sites.
To watch one fight, it's $50.
One. Well, it's a fight card, but yeah, really, most people come for the main event. So one fight, and even the main events aren't always amazing. It's like, oh, it's a relatively unknown dude who's trying to make his way up to the belt.
So there's people who would spend $50 to $75 to watch two muscle guys hug each other for 10 minutes.
Pretty much, yeah. And if you're a martial artist, it's very entertaining. Like myself, I was trained in stand-up fighting, so Wing Chun Kung Fu when I was growing up. And then later I learned Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so I love it. I think it's great. I know what's going on, and I can kind of like analyze it. It's kind of like if I watched like cricket right now, I wouldn't give a shit because I don't know anything about it. But if I watch basketball, I get it because I played basketball. So it's kind of like that.
Feels like a very niche market though. If you're pitching the sport at people who have $75 to burn and also grew up learning Wing Chun Kung Fu.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and okay, so my problem with them is, they're doing it wrong. They said, they were like, what were your numbers for pay-per-view? And like, I don't know, we're hoping to break six figures. And I was like, you only get like 70,000 or maybe more, maybe 90,000 concurrent viewers. That's shit. A lot of people watch UFC, so I went and looked at the torrent site afterwards, and there were more downloads than there were people who watched it. So I was like, you're missing more than half of your market. You need to move your price point, bro. Like, you're gonna make more money in the end if you do. And but they're a young corporation and they're bad at things still. Like they're bad at a lot of things, but they need to hire someone like, I don't know, behavioral scientist like myself, or just a better marketing.
But counterpoint, like how low would that price point have to be to make people not want to get it easily for free, which is what they're doing with the.
That's what I thought. $29.99 is what I'd pay. Like $30 seems a little much, but I know how, that 1 cent psychology, we talked about that on one of the previous episodes. I would pay that for a fight if it was a good fight. Well, actually, I'd pay it for any fight because they only come like twice a month or once a month, and $60 a month for a dirty habit is fine. So
you do that over just getting it for free though? $60 a month?
Definitely. Because I want to pay for it, and I told Amy that. I was like, it's going on right now. I want to watch it. The torrent is going to be up literally as soon as it finishes, and I feel dirty doing that even, so I wait till the next day, and like, that's, humans are weird. But I feel bad, and I want to give UFC my money, so I buy like some merchandise sometimes and stuff, but that's outrageous for a fight. That's outrageous. $75? Are you kidding me? $50 if you watch on YouTube, but that's outrageous. And like, because most of the fights are crap. Anyway, the early fights, I'm like, who are these people? They're nobodies. They're just trying to make it better. They're not the main event. They're the prelims.
They're the opening band.
Yeah, but anyway, the Pirate Bay. So the point is the Pirate Bay went down for a while. I don't know if you heard about this. They had a sting operation on them. And they were in a sovereign or a country where that wasn't against the law. I think it was Sweden. I'm pretty sure. Their servers were, and so the Interpol, I think, got a hold of them, and it's just weird because it's like, what, dude? They were legal in their country. In their country. They got pulled. Anyway, they're back up. So I was just mentioning that they came back with a huge like logo of a phoenix to, I think, like spit in people's faces. But sometime you should check out that site. Go to their people send them like lawyers send them like papers and legal notices and stuff, and they write back really smarmy. So it's pretty hilarious. Anyway, that's another news item.
Well, there's my last story comes from a website called Backchannel, and it is about the psychology lab, the largest virtual psychology lab in the world, which is at Riot Games right now.
Cool.
Did you see the kind of what they're doing? They're basically bringing in like a whole team. I think there were like 50 researchers, psychologists and whatnot, trying to replicate some early psychology, with the express goal of making League of Legends less toxic, which is like infamous problem of League of Legends. And not just League of Legends, like a lot of players in a lot of games like will say things like uninstall and go hang yourself. Like our good friend JT was spouting that stuff off yesterday in Heroes of the Storm, but I guess he got a start in League of Legends, so maybe he picked it up there.
Yeah, he's slowly losing that. Like he's starting to, whenever you're losing, be a little less toxic. But it's funny while he rages. But it's overall not helpful. Because I've heard of this place. They actually have a summer internship that I was thinking about applying for. Except I hate Riot Games. I think they're bad. I think they're bad at design. I think they're just dumb, and they stumbled onto something luckily by literally copying and pasting an idea into a free engine for free to play. Like free to play was an upcoming model already, and all they did was literally copy and paste a game, and they copy and paste a system free to play, and then now they don't know what to do. That's my theory of Riot Games. And so they're hiring just, what is it, like, how many psychologists? Like a lot. There's a lot of positions for grad students, and there's and they hired like a few psychologists, and they're just letting them go to town on their data, which is a dream come true. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
but,
they're very.
I've followed this a little bit.
Yeah, and they've been trying different things. Like they've been trying the priming effect, where they'll have like red font and blue font, and seeing if that like discourages toxicity in the player base. Seeing like small gains, like 6% increases in like pro-social behavior, which seems like a small number, but when you have as many players as they do, I guess every little bit helps.
Yeah, considering how overwhelming this problem is, and the fact that like something they replicated here that we already knew in the literature was that toxicity or negative behavior spreads quicker than positive behavior. So like
Negative bias is what they called it in the article.
yeah, and they found like this has to do with some of the marital research too. There's this Gottman came up with this. He found out that there's a golden rule of 5. So for every one like negative thing you say to your spouse, you're supposed to say 5 good things, and that was correlated with a dramatic increase in marital satisfaction. So like it's just kind of a good guideline whenever I'm working with clients. I'll tell them, you know, this just keep this in the back of your mind. Whenever you say something bad, you need to be focusing on good things after that for a while. Plus, there's ways to bring up criticism, but they replicated that here. Is that they found that like negative behavior was spreading like crazy, much faster than positive behavior. Someone would be pro-social and be like, "Hey, it's okay, we're losing the game. You know, I probably could have done some things to improve." And then like one person would be like, "Yeah, fuck you," and then everyone's like, "No, fuck you!" And then they carry that on to their other games, so it externalizes. So pretty shocking, and no wonder why League of Legends has gotten so bad because it was unregulated for a long time. This toxicity. Interesting system, though.
Yeah, they were talking about Nosek. Brian Nosek, he's a social psychologist out of University of Virginia. He kind of came up with this big data approach to social psychology back in like the late 90s, where you ever hear of Project Implicit?
What is it?
Project Implicit?
No. What is that?
So like when the internet was first coming out, they like hosted a bunch of like online tests and questionnaires and surveys, kind of like SurveyMonkey, but like a more primitive form of it. But what was amazing was in like 3 days he was able to collect more data than like an ordinary lab would do throughout his whole career. So it's like this whole idea of like using the internet to get out like larger sample sizes.
That's cool.
And so he says that like a lot of companies keep their data sets very close and private, but Riot Games is, their problem's so bad, they're kind of like, okay, everyone just come in and have at it, look at our data, help us fix this. So it's kind of an interesting place in gaming history, because it's like the first time we've had such a large-scale like open doors policy on like private corporate data.
Wow, yeah. Like I said, that would be a dream for me if they opened their floodgates. Like one study where I collect maybe 150 people, I can come up with just a lot of really cool questions to answer, with like legit math, and I love it. It's fun. So I bet those guys are having a ball. Plus you get it, you can collect and you manipulate in real time because servers are up all the time. So that's cool, and they can do a lot. Like in psychology and research, we have to limit the amount of variables we control or we manipulate and we measure, because you need enough people in each condition to detect an effect if it happens, right? So your probability, your statistics. And with them, I mean, you could measure tons of things. I mean, we could have a control group with like 4% of the players, which represents enough people that your statistical power will be fine. It probably represents what, 5,000 people or something. I don't know. 4%?
Yeah, because your typical college lab's got like 50 or 60 kind of like psych undergrads looking for extra credit or $20, and suddenly you have like 50,000 people to work with in a sample size. Like that's pretty great.
Yeah, that's awesome. And they're not being. That's the thing too. Is like whenever we collect data, it's based on a lot of times these people in these classes, these social psychology classes or intro classes where they get extra credit, or it's a course requirement that they take part in some research, right? Just to get an idea of what psychology is like as a function. Anyway, so that's kind of like we get some junk data that way. Sometimes people just circle all the left-hand columns, because they want to get through that kind of thing. And that's easy to detect. That stuff is like patterns like that. But some of them are a lot more nefarious, and some of them are just trying to be funny, and like so they'll do something weird and off the wall and throw off our data. And those little pricks, like I'm sure it seems like harmless fun to them, but that's hard to detect in the data, and you could null a result just by like a significant number of people doing that, being outliers.
And even if they're all like answering genuinely like how they would answer, it's still kind of a selection bias, right? Because it's a largely white, middle class to upper class 20-somethings. Like one of the things that really blew my mind is when I found out how much of our modern psychology was just based off of a very restricted set of like demographics. Just like 20% of Americans think this. It's like, well, replace Americans with undergraduates in college, and you'll have a better idea of what 20% of them think.
Exactly, but I mean, there's kind of shitty things about all of that, because like if you start collecting from like 80-year-olds, and like octogenarians, and also you collect from like 20-year-olds, you're going to get a huge disparity to the point where your sizes are going to have to be massive. Plus, then who are you really describing? It's like the average person who's 2.5 kids or whatever. That's not a real person. And like that's like saying.
No, for sure, but you have to be more clear when you're reporting. Say like 20% of college students or 20% of octogenarians. Like you can limit your sample sizes, but don't like make that like the average American, which is how they tend to report it.
It requires more validity and more replication, because like one of the things we do here at the University of Mississippi is I'll collect data, and since we have such a large African American population, because we have open enrollment, and Mississippi is the blackest state or the second blackest state. I think Georgia's the blackest state, and we're the second blackest. So, it's really cool. We get to replicate a study that's been done before and say, like, Ohio, where it's mostly white, and then we say, oh, look, it did the same thing here, or, oh, it's slightly different here because of, African-American population. That's cool stuff. Or you can take, like, community samples, is what we call it, if we draw from, like, the community. Even then it's biased, though. Usually you have to draw them in with cash, and, people seeking that are more likely to do something called demand characteristics or fall victim to those, which means, like, you tried to do what you think the researchers having you is trying to look for,
Right.
We see that more often in people who are paid. So there's a lot of things you could to juggle, but you're absolutely right. College students most of the time, it's crazy. Although I wonder if League of Legends isn't mostly college. I wonder.
I bet there's in my experience in South Korea, it was mostly like 10-year-olds, but I don't know how it is in the States.
Okay. Nice. Okay. Yeah.
Like you can walk by any given like PC, like where you can rent a PC for an hour, and it's just like full of these like elementary school and middle school kids just League of Legending it up.
Oh, there should be an age restriction on there. There's a mature language filter, isn't there? Oh, even still, people say the worst things without cussing. Like one of the questions was, JT was like, Google seppuku, then do it. And, it was. It's hilarious, but I felt bad for the guy, because the guy wasn't that bad. But he was the weakest link, and he made some bad decisions that lost us the game, which sucked.
So he deserves to die.
So he deserves to. He's told he needs to kill himself. Oh my gosh! So he said, uninstall, and then swallow a bullet. It was just the worst. Oh man, I was.
Wow, I'd feel a little uncomfortable if I were in the field of social if I were in the field of counseling and psychology, and I spent most of my time trying to convince people not to kill themselves, and I was in that game.
Yeah, one of my specific interests is prosociality, like how to get people to act better, So yeah, League of Legends is disgusting to me. Like I just think it's horrible. I would rather just throw it away than work on it, to be honest. But whatever. I would work on it, I guess. I just hate they have such a rabid fan base, and like I'll say things like, "Hey, bad game design, guys," and I'll point out an example, and people are like, "No," and I'm like, "It really is bad game design, like legitimately, at least from psychological point of view." And then my amateur game design side of my brain, I guess, is also feels like they're shit, but it's not a professional opinion.
Why do people just dig in their heels every time someone? I don't know. Like, I'm playing a game I love right now. Well, we might as well talk about it. Let's go into our gaming experiences. But this game has a lot of bad game design decisions, and I'm aware of them as I'm playing it. I still like the game, but I can be like, wow, they shouldn't have done that. They shouldn't have done that.
All right, yeah, and let's go ahead and hit the bumper, and we'll move into the game experiences. For anyone watching on YouTube, this is when the music plays on the actual podcast.
Yeah, what you're watching is the even more rough version.
All right, welcome to Gaming Experiences. So what's this game you've been playing?
Okay, so I logged into my Wii U the other night to watch some Netflix, and I was informed that the Metroid Prime Trilogy was on sale for $9.99. Not $10, $9.99. Which I'm like, that's less than $10. I can afford that. So download that. I've been playing Metroid Prime for the GameCube. You ever play that one?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, the first one?
Yeah.
I liked it, man. I thought it was great.
Yeah, me too. Loved it. So went back, revisited it, and it was interesting. Lots of fun. I'm having fun just exploring things, scanning things, like unlocking things. Like it's got a very good flow to it. Like you'll walk into a room and you'll get some kind of upgrade to your suit that lets you go into this next room, and you're like, oh shoot, I saw a room like 2 rooms back where I could get to now. So you get excited to go check out what that room was that you couldn't get to before. So it's got that kind of Castlevania, Metroid kind of style gameplay where you can go back and use your new power-ups to get to new places.
We did an episode on that, didn't we?
Yeah,
first year?
Metroid.
Okay, yeah. You guys should go listen to that. That was a good one.
Yeah.
But
So anyway, been having a lot of fun, but one of the options was there was a veteran mode and a normal mode. And I was like, oh, I've already played this game once, back in 2002 or whatever. I barely remember it, but I bet you I could play veteran mode, and it's a lot harder. The bosses do more damage, they're faster, they're smarter, they take cover more. And I died to the first boss, and I had to start way back at the save point, lost like 20 minutes of work, and I was like, oh, now I remember why games let you save wherever you want to now. That's the worst, having to go back and do all this stuff again. Like 3 times, because it was a hard boss battle, and there were no save points between me and that area. So I kept on having to go back and do it again. Now I've got energy tanks, so there's more of a margin of error. But that first boss fight, you've got nothing but your standard gun, and you're like, all right, have fun. Don't die.
It's interesting. It's interesting how game design has developed and evolved for the better, which evolution usually is. So I guess that goes without saying. So it's evolved to the point where I remember back when we were younger and we played games that were less well designed, and the telltale kind of stimuli that tells you that you're about to get in a boss fight is you get a bunch of health and ammo.
Yeah.
And that still happens in some games, but now it's autosave. Whenever it autosaves, you walk in a big room, you know it's time. So that's funny that they've kind of fixed that problem by now.
Yeah, and they have fixed that problem. And I can say that Metroid Prime is one of my favorite games on the GameCube, and still point out that there are flaws, such as that one, that they've since gone back and rectified, but they hadn't figured out yet. Which goes back to your original point of League of Legends players. Like, dude, you can like a game and still acknowledge that some things are wrong with it. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop being so invested.
I like a lot of weird things, and I don't care about talking bad about them because I'm like, yeah, man, I still like it. Yeah. Anyway, so that's fun. That's fun that you've been playing that.
Yeah, that sale's going to be going on for a couple more days, I think. I think it's till February 5th, so anyone that has a Wii U, the other 9 million people out there who bought one, yeah, check it out. It's 3 great games for $9.99. It's a pretty good deal.
That's awesome. Well, good. I have been playing, obviously, Heroes of the Storm quite a bit, but we won't talk about that. I also played a little bit more on this War of Mine. Haven't gotten any further, still same gameplay, and I actually lost a little interest in it. Unless something changes in the gameplay, it's hard. But other than that, meh. There's something that sucks about that game, and I haven't quite figured it out. Okay, so at night you have to sign what your survivors do, right? Which is one of the fun things. It's like, because you got to manage their tiredness, their content. Like they'll kill themselves if they all have dirty habits, kind of. Like one is a smoker, one of them needs to have movement, needs to see different things, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And one of them was injured or sick. Yeah, gets sick a lot, that kind of thing. So you have to juggle that and make sure that they're sleeping, because the nighttime you might have them doing an activity like guarding or going out for supplies. So you got to make sure they sleep during the day. So you're managing them all the time. Pretty fun. But there's a shitty thing that happens. This mechanic where you go and do something, right? And let's say let's say it's me and you, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna put David on guard, and I'll send myself out to go scavenge, okay? Mm-hmm. And then when I get back, it's like, oh, hey, you got all the stuff you can scavenge. And the scavenge is actually a mini game. It's fun. You have to go search through stuff and hide from people and stuff and whatnot, and decide if you're gonna shoot regular people and stuff. Like this one, I went into this store, and the guy was he walks out with a rifle. I'm like, oh no, and try to hide, and he sees me, and I'm like, oh, I think that's over. I think I'm screwed. But the guy says, he goes, hey, there's enough for both of us, so let's go. And he turns around, but you have the option to kill him, because I pulled out a knife. I was like, I wonder if I can still kill him, and then I did, and I was like, oh my gosh, that restarted it. But if you don't kill him, then he shares the items, which sucks. You need everything. But if you do, it's he had the chance to kill me with an AK-47. And I killed him with a broom handle. I feel like a dick. He turns back on me.
Or you're really resourceful.
Yeah, he had tons of resources, a whole clip full of resources he could have put towards me. But it's just funny. But here's the shitty thing. Let's say I go and do that, right? And I successfully get in and out of this house like a little pack rat. And when I come back, it's oh, you made a good pull. Here's all the things you got. and the next screen says that you got robbed, or like something happens, right? Something bad almost always happens at night, even though I posted a guard. So there was a guy that was fat that I put him in as a guard because I'm like, well, you're not going to be a very fast runner, so let's put him in the thing. He slept during the day so they could be awake all night for guard. Totally awake, not tired, and he got stabbed in the gut by someone who broke in our house somehow with a knife, and that's all they had. I was like, you had one job. There's only one door in.
You should sit there and not get stabbed in the gut. That was your one thing.
Yeah, and they stole a ton of stuff, and I was like, I feel like it should be like that should have been, I don't know, like more of a reward for picking the right option of like, I'm gonna keep him on guard because I could have made him sleep and then had him work during the day, you know, like.
Yeah, you're gonna lose your stuff anyway. Now he's got a knife wound.
Yeah, a knife wound and my stuff is gone. So like, what happens if I would have let him sleep? So that's just discouraging because it gives you the feeling of helplessness and frustration, and that's not something you want your gamers to have in game design.
Not if you want to keep playing.
Right, yeah. So I kind of put it down because I was like, that's happened 3 nights in a row. It's pissing me off. Anyway, whatever.
Are you arming your guards? Hey, stop! You can't come in.
Well, that's the funny thing. I gave him a knife. I was like, who did stab you with your own knife? First of all, how did he get in the front door with just a knife? Did you let him in? And then if he didn't, then did he take your knife from you, stab you, and then what did you do after that? Just lay there while he took all of our shit? Like,
you couldn't scream, wake everyone up?
I think what happened is he probably like fell on it or fell asleep on it, and then he like told me some story. He just like hid a bunch of items so he could eat it.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
That's probably what happened.
That fat bastard. I only keep him around because he's a good cook. Like he can make like double food out of food, which is amazing.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, but apparently
playing into every fat person stereotype.
Like you don't even need a guard if it's a locked door. Like what's he gonna do? Knife the wood in half? I mean, nothing. How do you fuck that up? Oh.
So we're dealing with a professional.
Yeah. He just cuts a hole in the door like he's Obi-Wan Kenobi or something with his lightsaber. What the hell?
No, he like picks the lock with his knife and then like ninjas his way in, slices the guy.
Yeah, and did the other guy get sliced? And like, what happened? Like, if you see someone knife through a door, I'd be hiding. Like, let him take the stuff or whatever, or stab him from behind. How did he knife you? He didn't sneak up on you because you have one job. You got to. Seriously, I put the chair pointed at the door, and it's right in front of it. You have one job. I don't get it. If someone can knife through a door, don't fuck with him, right? And if you let him in, you need stab him too, maybe. I don't know. Chase him away. I don't know.
Raise an alarm of some kind. I don't know. I'm not a post-apocalyptic survivor.
This is the only scenario I see that could have happened. Knock, knock. Oh, that's probably fine. It's 2 a.m. Open the door. Surprise, stab, right? And then you just
no. Knock, knock. Oh, I wonder who that could be. Open the door. Hi, knife inspector. I need to see your knife real quick. Okay, here it is. Sure.
Hands it to him. Gets stabbed. But here's the funny thing. Like, let's say I'm watching and I get stabbed in the gut. And like, what happens?
By the knife inspector.
And, yeah, by the knife inspector. Like, quite literally stabbed in the back. Well, I'm gonna knife him too, right? Or like, because I'm afraid he's gonna finish me off. But I think what happened was he just got stabbed. He's like, fair enough. You get some of our items. Like, I don't.
He's like, hold on a minute, and he just hobbles into the storage unit and comes back with some food.
Comes back, hands him.
Here's your reward.
The other guy should probably, like, if 2 people are in a knife fight, someone's gonna die. Nobody just like gets stabbed once and they're like, well done, sir, and salute with their knife. Like, I don't know how that happened.
Oh man.
Well.
Hilarious. Just keep him in the kitchen from now on. He's got no other jobs.
I know, man. Like, I spent so much resources making a knife for him. Making that knife, like, someone had to go without eating, and then we also didn't have pistols because of that.
The old knife inspector ruse. Door-to-door knife inspector. Works every time. Excuse me, sir. I'm here to check on your knives. Yeah, I've got one here. All right, let's see it.
2 a.m. Standard knife inspection.
Curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal.
I spent so much money on a lock for the door too. Like, what the hell? Anyway,
he got it.
Piece of shit. Stupid cook. Anyway, and like this game is brutal. Like you can only reload from like a day before basically, and you don't remember all the decisions you made and like what you did.
Write a Steam review like my fat guy got killed by a door-to-door knife inspector at 2 a.m. Good game. Would play again.
Would play again. My armed guard got stabbed and stolen from without any repercussions. Like, I show up, he's got one stab wound. He's just holding the stomach. He's like, "Oh, I got stabbed." I'm like, "What the fuck happened? Yeah, I set you up for success, man. How did you screw it up?"
Fat guy got one knife wound, gave the person all his food to spare his life. 4 out of 5 would play again.
would play again. I think it must have been like the Lancelot scene in Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Everyone just going about their business.
He's like, "I'm gonna go outside for a smoke break." Or something. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, but it was frustrating because I was like, I set that guy up for success. I even gave him a knife. I was like, no one's gonna get in the front door. But if they do, you stab them. It's the only if-then situation you need to worry about as a guard with a knife.
Nobody gets in or out, even with your permission. No. Yeah, it really is the guards from Monty Python.
Oh, it was.
Someone's protecting the daughter. All right.
Yeah.
So whether or not you want to come in or go out, you're not allowed.
Oh, we gotta hold on. I'm gonna YouTube that while we're. I'm not gonna play it. I just want to have it for later. Door guards, Monty Python. Okay.
All right. Should we should we go into our in-depth analysis, or were there any other games?
No, that was pretty much it. Just that game, that fucking game. So that was early on in the week, and I put it down. I've been real busy actually this week. So anyway, all right. Yeah, let's move on into the in-depth analysis.